Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are starting a new episode of our TV show, and together here with me is Oliver Robke. Oliver Robke is the most important voice of the civil society in Brussels, is the president of European Economic and Social Committee, and is also a trade unionist. Thank you, Oliver, for accepting our invitation. And could you tell us something briefly about European Economic and Social Committee?
Thank you, Florian, first of all, for the invitation. It's a great opportunity. Well, the ESC, the European Economic and Social Committee, is the voice of organized civil society. And if it wouldn't exist, I think it would be high time to create it, because we want to be closer to citizens, closer to civil society organizations. And we are somehow the bridge between the citizens and the European institutions. So we are 329 members in three groups: the employers' organizations, the trade unions, and the civil society organizations. And we advise the European institutions, especially the Parliament, the Commission, but also the Council, on legislative proposals. But moreover, we can also propose strategic initiatives. And this we are doing more and more with our flagship initiatives, enlargement, but also the Blue Deal, perhaps the cost of living crisis, to give also strategic advice to the European institutions, because I think this is important to have a strategic approach and a proactive approach. And this is what we are doing at the moment.
Thank you so much. 2024 was a critical year from the geopolitical point of view. 2025 will be even worse, if you allow me the term. And since you have mentioned the enlargement, how do you see the enlargement process? Is it moving forward? We have some positive results?
Yes, there is a certain fatigue. We see this. But unfortunately, the war of aggression against Ukraine opened a window of opportunity. And there is a political momentum, and it's still there for enlargement, because we see that stability in our neighborhood is an absolute must for the European Union. So therefore, now the Commission is also focusing more on enlargement. And since I took office in April last year, I said one of my flagship initiatives is the ESC should become the first EU institution involving civil society representatives and social partners, including trade unionists, in our advisory work. So this is the so-called concept of gradual integration. And I think this is important to give hope and tangible results to the citizens in candidate countries and also to the civil society organizations, because we can see that there's still a lot of consensus and support for EU membership in these countries, but less and less citizens think that it will ever happen. So I think we need some signs of hope, and we need some success stories. And I think this is a crucial mandate now to show that enlargement will happen, of course, when the requirements are met.
Basically, your committee is the first contact with the civil society organization from the candidate countries, and I think it's crucial for them in order to understand how we are functioning, how the EU Commission is functioning, and things like that. Congratulations for this initiative. It is very good. But we are debating right now the cohesion policy, the workers' right, because we have saw the Draghi report and the approach concerning competitiveness of the Draghi report. How do you see those aspects in close connection with the enlargement? Because some countries will be affected, especially the borders one.
Absolutely. And we know that enlargement, even if I say it's a geopolitical must, I wouldn't say this, but it's a factor of stability. But of course, it's also a challenge, because we see deep disparities between candidate countries and between EU member states. Economic disparities, social disparities, huge wage differences. And I know what I'm talking about, because coming from Austria, we also saw in previous enlargement rounds, it was a challenge. It was a challenge to keep social peace and first of all to keep fair competition and to avoid social dumping. This is absolutely crucial. Otherwise, there will be no support, sustainable support for enlargement. So therefore, exactly what you said, cohesion, economic cohesion, social cohesion is absolutely crucial. The cohesion policy is the main investment instrument in the European Union. Now I hear rumors, or even more than rumors, that cohesion policy should be changed. And it was just in the Financial Times an article that some 100 billion euros should channeled from cohesion policy towards defense. And let's say defense is a key priority for the new Commission, okay, but it cannot go at the expense of cohesion policy, which means at the expense of poorer regions, of poorer people, and at the expense of social cohesion. So we have to work on all these fronts at the same time to foster competitiveness, but to uphold always also the social rights and the workers' rights, to foster collective bargaining and social dialogue. So it's a big challenge ahead of us, but this must be done in the upcoming mandate.
Challenging times. Yes. But do you think that there are enough money in the cohesion policy to tackle all these aspects, because they are quite demanding from various points of view?
Well, our position is that we need more means. We said this also in our committee when we talked about the MFF. We said that we want to be ambitious, but this means that we have also to provide the financial means for this. And unfortunately, Europe is not bold enough from our point of view. So I think we have to do more, including own resources and other resources. This is absolutely necessary. So we have also the problem, let's be frank, that our Stability and Growth Pact in some countries is applied even with a debt brake, yes, which makes the situation more difficult for countries to undertake the investments that are absolutely needed at the moment. And I see here one of the key problems compared to other world regions, economic regions, that we have this lack of investments, of future investments. And at the same time, we have huge projects like the Green Deal. We're always big supporters of the Green Deal, but we said this must be underpinned and underlined by the necessary investments to mitigate also some implications on regions, on workers, on families, because otherwise the support for the Green Deal will not be there. So a Green Deal must be a social deal, and this is not for free.
Yeah, because if you are looking right now, the climate agenda is something which is more attached to the ones which have means. So this is how it is being perceived, yeah, and it's not a good start for the climate agenda. But do you see that the climate agenda, in a context in which Europe is losing competitiveness, it has a future?
I'm absolutely convinced. I think if we go back to the fossil industries and technologies, this is not the future. So we made the decision, and now we have to continue. Of course, we can leave some flexibility. This is not a problem. We shouldn't be too strict. We should have flexibility, but we cannot put into question our climate goals. I think we have to follow them. And in the end, I think this is the only possibility also for us to gain again competitiveness. But once again, it must be accompanied by other measures. Very alarming is the result of the COP29. I see that a lot of civil society organizations are, let's say it politely, disappointed. So I share the view of those who say we need a total new approach here, because we cannot afford that another COP next year will fail. It will be in Brazil. I have to say, recently the G20 social summit, yeah, took place in Brazil. I trust that also the Brazilian government under President Lula will move forward and will put pressure on this. I think it will be crucial next year.
Since you have mentioned regions which have to become climate neutral, we have Just Transition Platform, which is an instrument provided by the Commission. But do you think that it is enough? Because from the social point of view, if you are looking to one miner who has worked 30 years in a mine, to ask him to be, to practice other job, it will be difficult for him. Do you think that only Just Transition Platform, it is enough?
No, it's a good step, and we were always asking for a Just Transition framework, but I think the platform is not enough. It's not enough, and we have concrete proposals here in the House. Very soon we will have an opinion debated and hopefully adopted in our plenary, also for Just Transition. And I myself, together with the rapporteur of a previous opinion, presented this opinion to the Council meeting of ministers, environmental ministers. We need a strong just transition mechanism and even a just transition directive for the world of labor. This is absolutely necessary. So we have a complete set of proposals here, and I think, or I know that the reactions were quite positive from the ministers. So I think we should move forward, and I expect from the new Commission to take decisive steps.
Coming back to the enlargement and in synergy with climate agenda, are those countries which are candidate right now willing to share those values? Because if we are looking at deforestation regulation, you know what has happened. They try to postpone the implementation. So there is enough willingness from the candidate country in order to share and to implement and to respect, of course, the European values.
Florian, I don't see really, let's say, the split between candidate countries and EU member states. I see that also EU member states are reluctant when it comes to deforestation or renaturation law. So this is not a problem of candidate countries and existing EU member states. It's a polarization that we see, and I think we have no alternative to bring the candidate countries on board. They must, this is clear, they must share our values. And when I say that we are advocating for enlargement, this doesn't mean that we want to accelerate necessarily the process. What we want to avoid the mistakes of the past, when we did not care enough and early enough about, let's say, about trade unions, social partners, collective bargaining, social dialogue in Romania, in Poland, in Baltic countries. And then we had the enlargement and the system was not fit for purpose. So let's do it earlier, let's empower civil society there to make sure that the rule of law and civic space will be guaranteed and that we will have a strong social dialogue and collective bargaining. I discussed this in many candidate countries, and luckily, because of our initiative, we are heard there. We have meetings with our enlargement candidate members, recently in Albania, in Bosnia, where I meet all of them, civil society, employers, trade unions. All of them are in favor of this initiative, but we say clearly to the governments, in the end, enlargement must be merit-based, and you have to take action now. You have to take action now. Would be a very good signal if some of these countries could achieve the goal of the minimum wage directive of 80% collective bargaining coverage earlier than some EU member states. I think this would be a brilliant signal, and I think some of the candidate countries have understood and will hopefully deliver.
So basically your committee is working at a grassroots level, and it's delivering a concrete role for the enlargement process. But could you name also other aspects in which the committee is involved to support the enlargement process?
Yeah, fundamental rights. Fundamental rights. This is we are a watchdog, civil society and democracy watchdog here in the House. We have a dedicated group that deals with the rule of law and fundamental rights in EU member states. And now we expanded the scope of this group, and they undertake missions to candidate countries. Recently in Moldova, now in Serbia, and soon also in other countries. On the ground, we have contacts and interviews with human rights activists, with social partners, with lawyers, to test the ground. How is the real situation for social partners, for civil society? So we are helping here. And then, as I said, we have some forward-looking initiatives that are also interesting for candidate countries. The Blue Deal, for example, where the committee, I think, was extremely successful, calling for an own commissioner for water strategies. This is at least partially done. Or housing is also a very pressing issue, and we were one of the first institutions with a fully fledged set of proposals. And I'm very glad to see that the Commission and the mission letter for the Commissioner has actually most of our points introduced, to have, first of all, an own Commissioner, to set up a platform, to have an action plan, and to look also in the question how to finance this, because we have to deliver. Only concepts won't be enough.
Since you have mentioned the Commission, I have to ask, how do you see the workers' rights and social rights in the structure of the Commission? Because if we are looking right now at the structure, well, there are unclear, things are a little bit, so are not clear enough in order to isolate and to see where the social dialogue, collective bargaining and workers' rights are.
Yes. Let me say the last mandate, or the now finishing mandate, was, I think, a very constructive one from the European Commission. I think the Commissioner worked well together And when you ask about workers' rights and social Europe, I think Commissioner Schmidt was a big champion, was championing social rights, and he achieved a lot. And I think he achieved a lot in the interest of Europe, of a united Europe, of more convergence and more cohesion, because this is in the end what we want. Also the minimum wage directive, which means more collective bargaining, more participation, but also the fight against poverty, platform workers. So I think there were a lot of initiatives, and now it will be a new mandate. There are new priorities from the European Commission, and the new commissioner, Executive Vice President Mințatu, I met her already. I think she's committed to move forward also with the social agenda. Of course, we have also a strong focus on competitiveness, and this is okay, absolutely okay. I think it's absolutely necessary. But our committee is championing, I would say, sustainable competitiveness, where social rights are not a burden for competitiveness, on the contrary, an integral part. And I look forward to work with Roxana Mințatu in this respect.
Thank you for this. Now, taking into account the economic situation of Germany, the political situation in France, and since you have mentioned Growth Stability Pact in France, the fact that Romania and Bulgaria will join Schengen completely.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much. How do you see the impact on countries such as Poland, Romania and Bulgaria from the economical but also from the social point of view? Because we will see in a context in which enlargement is affecting that part of Europe, meaning Ukraine, which is a very sensitive topic, but also Moldova. How do you see the impact on those countries?
Well, I think that if you see the atmosphere or the surveys in these countries, I think there's a support for enlargement of the neighboring countries. I see that Romanian organizations, trade unions, employer organizations are very much engaged in Moldova, for example. In Poland,
there's a natural and historical bond between Moldova and Romania.
Absolutely.
And normal. But the relation with Ukraine is more sensitive.
More sensitive, but Poland, for example, has been a big supporter of Ukrainian civil society. So I think if we manage it carefully, then we will all benefit from it. To have more stability, but also to benefit economic and social terms. And this is absolutely necessary. Our Enlargement Candidate Members Initiative exactly has this objective, because we had important opinions, for example, on the future of the agricultural policy, where, if I remember correctly, enlargement candidate members from Ukraine participated, because this will be a huge challenge. The agri-food sector is as you know, is enormous in Ukraine. When it comes to future of cohesion policy, we had colleagues from Albania participating in our study groups, bringing in their perspective, and the feedback I got from them, but also from our members from EU countries, were absolutely positive, that we work together and we bring in both perspectives.
Mr. Robke, thank you for your work. Thank you for supporting civil society. Thank you for your dedication in supporting the European project. And thank you for your balanced approach, because Europe right now needs unity, but needs above all also a balanced approach. Ladies and gentlemen, we have saw the role and the important aspect which the civil society is delivering for supporting the enlargement of the European Union. Thank you so much, and see you next time in another TV show.
Thank you very much.